This is a co-sponsored motion, Honorable Speaker, by myself and the Leader of Minority. Honorable Speaker, recalling that the African Union, the successor of the Organization of the African Unity, OAU, was launched in the year 2002 as a continental body consisting of the 55 member states that make up the countries of the African continent, with a vision of creating an integrated, prosperous, and peaceful Africa, driven by its own citizens and representing a dynamic force in the global arena. And aware that the African Union Commission, established as the secretariat responsible for the day-to-day operations and activities of the African Union, is headed by the chairperson elected by the heads of state and government from member states. And further recalling that on the 27th February 2024, Kenya formally announced that the former Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, EGH, would be vying for the position of the chairperson of the African Union Commission, building on his previous service as the African Union Special Envoy for Infrastructure Development in Africa from the year 2018 to 2023. Further appreciating that in recognition of the immense Pan-African ideals embodied in the candidacy of the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, his dedication and leadership in advancing the cause of the African continent through various initiatives and positions held over the years, including his previous service as the African Union Special Envoy for Infrastructure Development in Africa from the year 2018 to 2023, His Excellency the President endorsed the Right Honorable Raila Odinga as Kenya's candidate for the chairperson of the African Union Commission. Noting that the Right Honorable Raila Odinga's candidacy for the position of the chairperson of the African Union Commission was not only his personal ambition, but also as a symbol of Kenya's deep commitment to the goals of the African Union and its desire to actively participate in shaping the continent's future. Commending the government of Kenya, led by His Excellency the President William Ruto, for the Pan-African campaign in support of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, reinforced by Kenya's commitment to regional and continental integration and cooperation and guided by Kenya's foreign policy. Further commending the remarkable achievement by the Right Honorable Raila Odinga for emerging the runner-up in the election of the chairperson of the African Union Commission on Saturday, 15 February 2025 in Addis Ababa. Recognizing the need to sustain Kenya's growing prominence on the continental stage and advocacy for a more united, prosperous, and self-reliant Africa in resonance with the aspirations of millions of Africans across the continent who seek to see the continent empowered to chart its own course in the global arena. Now, therefore, Honorable Speaker, this House records its thanks to His Excellency Dr. William Ruto, CGH President and Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces of the Republic of Kenya, for endorsing the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, EGH, as Kenya's candidate for election as the chairperson of the African Union Commission, AUC, and for coordinating the continental campaign in support of his candidacy. Two, this House expresses its profound thanks to the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, EGH, for demonstrating his unwavering commitment to the service of Africa by offering himself as Kenya's candidate for the position of the chairperson of the African Union Commission, for his leadership in advancing Pan-African unity, for his dedication to the development and integration of the African continent, and for his distinguished attempt at this election in which he emerged as the runners-up. And three, this House records its congratulations to His Excellency Mahmoud Ali Yusuf for his election as the chairperson of the African Union Commission on Saturday, 15 February 2025. Honorable Speaker, it's a long motion, Honorable Speaker, but even as long as it is, we are seeking to do three things, Honorable Speaker. One is to record our thanks to the President for his dedicated support and his very vigorous campaign across the continent for the campaign for the candidacy of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga as the chairperson of the AUC Commission. 2 is to congratulate and express our thanks as a House and on behalf of the Kenyan people to His Excellency the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, EGH, for demonstrating that unwavering commitment to the service of the African continent. Honorable Speaker, we cannot say it enough that the dedication with which we saw the Right Honorable Prime Minister and His Excellency the President William Ruto work together throughout the campaign, and not failing to mention our dedicated foreign mission officers at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, led by the Principal Secretary, Sing'oei Korir, and His Excellency, the Prime Cabinet Secretary, Musalia Mudavadi, who dedicated immense time and resources across the continent in campaigning for the candidacy of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. Honorable Speaker, the Right Honorable Prime Minister Raila Odinga needs no introduction to anybody in the continent. He is a man whose ideals as a Pan-Africanist need no introduction to anybody in the continent, and indeed, we must take this opportunity also to thank the many nations across the continent that stood not just with the nation and the Republic of Kenya in this campaign, but also with the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, the Pan-Africanist par excellence, in the campaigns and the election in Addis Ababa over the weekend. Honorable Speaker, let me also take this opportunity as we congratulate the winner of this election, Honorable Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, who is also a good African from our neighboring country in Djibouti. As we congratulate him, Honorable Speaker, I cannot fail to note with immense gratitude again to Prime Minister Raila Odinga that as much as he was leading all through, especially the first, second, and almost the third vote, even at a time when he was leading, when he got to the 6th vote, Honorable Speaker, after the 6th vote, he opted in the spirit of Pan-Africanism not to take that assembly through another round of campaigning and elections, because the Right Honorable Raila Odinga had the choice to fight on. And because there were many people who were supporting him, then our brother Mohamed Yusuf probably would not have gotten the 2/3. But the former Prime Minister opted, instead of taking Africa through the rigors of waiting for another few months to get into another campaigning season, he opted to allow the assembly to go ahead and vote and see if the person who was leading then in that round could achieve the 2/3 that was required for the chairperson seat. And that is how Ali Yusuf Mohammed was elected as the chairperson of AUC. Therefore, I want to congratulate the Right Honorable Prime Minister for that commitment, for his dedication, for that spirit of Pan-Africanism, for knowing that Africa and our unity as a continent is paramount, and putting Africa and Pan-Africanism ahead of his own personal interests, and putting the interests of the continent and the unity of the continent ahead of his interests, Honorable Speaker. And it is commendable. That is the spirit in every competition, that there will be a winner, there will be a loser. Raila Odinga did not leave Addis Ababa as a loser. He left Addis Ababa as a winner who has exemplified his leadership in the African continent and in the world. And Honorable Speaker, we commend him. We note our thanks as a House and on behalf of the Kenyan people to the Right Honorable Prime Minister for that commitment to the African nation. And I want to encourage him to continue serving not just Kenya, but the African continent and the world with the same commitment and dedication that he has shown over the years, Honorable Speaker. The Right Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Speaker, you know, is not just a Kenyan leader, is a continental leader. As we have said in this motion, he has served in continental bodies. And I know in the future, he could even serve in world bodies, Honorable Speaker, because the world needs his experience, the world needs his ideals and his leadership in many aspects, as we do need them in this country, Honorable Speaker, as he continues to serve us and the world. And we wish him well. We wish the Honorable Mohamed Yusuf well in his service. Let him understand that we are all in a competitive election, and the people of Kenya remain committed to the ideals of the African Union and to the integration of the African continent as one united continent. Even with the regional blocks, Honorable Speaker, SADC, EAC, COMESA, all these regional bodies, Honorable Speaker, seek to integrate. And as we've said with the EAC partner states, we are not just widening, deepening, and tightening our cooperation within the East African region, but we seek to deepen, widen, and tighten the integration of all these bodies under the African Union, under the leadership of Yusuf Mohammed, but also with the support of Pan-Africanists and great leaders like Raila Odinga. And of course, the able leadership of President William Ruto, who is the chairperson of the EAC, East African Community, Honorable Speaker, and has a role in the reform agenda of the African Union. And we look forward to working together with Prime Minister Raila Odinga, the chairperson Mohamed Yusuf, and President William Ruto as we seek to reform the African Union. And I want to believe, Honorable Speaker, under the leadership of President William Ruto and these two other great leaders, AU will be reformed into a body or an organization that addresses the needs and aspirations of all African people, Honorable Speaker, so that when we speak as one people. Honorable Speaker, some years back, Africa was seen as that dark continent of want and poverty. Today, the world over, everybody appreciates that Africa is the continent of the future, the present and the future. The resources, the expertise we have in this continent, the human capital we have in this continent, Honorable Speaker, I will not be surprised if in the years to come, we will see, as we have seen great African leaders like Barack Obama leading countries as big and as powerful as the United States of America, Honorable Speaker. We have seen many Kenyans today, including the young lady from Nyamira, who is now a senator in one of the state assemblies in the US. We have seen Kenyans of Somali origin become congressmen and women in the US, become senators in the US, Honorable Speaker, because Africa is the future of the world. Honorable Speaker, with the resources that we have in human capital, with an aging population in the Americas, in the West, in Asia, and the Far East, Honorable Speaker, and with our emerging and very productive and very well-educated youth, we are here to conquer the world. And we can only conquer the world under the able leadership of leaders like Raila Amolo Odinga, with his Pan-African spirit, with the able guidance of leaders like Mohamed Yusuf, who is now our chairperson, and with the support of all African presidents, Honorable Speaker. And we must respect these presidents, Honorable Speaker. And in conclusion, Honorable Speaker, as I move this motion and ask the leader of minority to second, allow me also to use this opportunity to express the disgust of this House on the actions and the words of one of us, the member for Juja, the Honorable Koimburi. And Honorable Speaker, as much as the police have taken action, and I do hope they will be able to charge the member for Juja, Honorable Speaker, even within our own standing orders, we have put it that you cannot disparage or even discuss a foreign president, especially a president of a foreign country. For the member for Juja to have uttered the unfortunate and careless words that he uttered over the weekend. And shamelessly, Honorable Speaker, in a church, on a pulpit, saying that other African leaders were being bribed, Honorable Speaker. The member for Juja should know that Prime Minister Raila Odinga did not run for chairmanship of AU under the instigation of William Ruto. Prime Minister Raila Odinga chose to run as chairperson of AUC, of the African Union Commission, on his own volition, because he is a Kenyan and an African statesman who deserved that position. President William Ruto did not choose to support Prime Minister Raila Odinga because he was his competitor in the last elections, or because they have served in ODM together. You know, President William Ruto is a founder member of ODM. He chose to support Prime Minister Raila Odinga as a deserving Kenyan and African statesman. The presidents, many presidents who voted for Raila Odinga to be chairperson, did not do it at the instigation or because they were influenced by anybody. Honorable Speaker, we must at the same time express our disgust by the actions of this member of parliament who claimed that the Republic of Kenya had spent 13 billion shillings. From where? Money that we have not appropriated, Honorable Speaker. But you know, Honorable Speaker, there are some of these members of parliament who sit here. Unfortunately, this member is even never in the house. So he doesn't even understand how money is appropriated. He's probably in a police station now. I don't know where he is and I don't care. I hear someone asking me, Honorable Speaker, where he is. Honorable Speaker, I want to propose the member for Juja must be named for this house because it is a bad habit he has formed. A very bad habit. You will recall last year, the same member, when members voted for the finance bill, yes, he claimed that they were being paid, I think, 200,000 shillings to vote for the finance bill. This 2 million shillings. 2 million shillings. He came here, stood there and apologized, Honorable Speaker. In the House, out of our own magnanimity, we chose to forgive him. When the impeachment motion came, he then went again to claim in some funeral somewhere where, you know, he's fond of following some other man there in funerals. He went to some funeral and claimed that members again were paid during the impeachment motion. Over 280 members, 282 members who voted in the impeachment motion, he claimed they were being paid. And he mentions figures from his head. And I see the person he follows in funerals repeating the same things. And that's how you know birds of a feather flock together. Honorable Speaker, now he has moved from members of parliament on the finance bill, impeachment motion, to heads of state of friendly countries. We cannot and we must not allow that kind of habit to take root in this house, and we must take action. And I want to invite us. Somebody must move a motion or should move a motion to name this member. So that tomorrow, this is what makes this house, Honorable Speaker, be treated with a lot of contempt and indignity because of the things that we say, not now of just our house. We have taken it outside to speak, say disparaging things about our country, disparaging things about presidents and heads of state and nations of other friendly nations, friends of Kenya, Honorable Speaker. How do you think those friends of ours who supported Prime Minister Raila Odinga would feel if they had their heads of state were being paid to vote? You know, Honorable Speaker, it is so annoying. I want to end it there, but we must name this member. We must. Because if we don't, he will make it a habit. Tomorrow, he will make all manner of allegations against any one of us here or against the president. And you know, because they have made it a sport to move around the country in funerals, insulting the president, and I hear they call themselves, I heard themselves calling them Itungati. Honorable Speaker, Itungati in French means people who have given themselves, heroes who have given themselves their time, their resources, their time and energy for the sake of the nation. But if you find yourself following a man in funerals and wherever you follow that man and calling yourself Itungati, you are not a Itungati, you are a slave to a man. Those who are following those who are slaves, they are not Itungatis. And lost slaves who are now disparaging heads of nations of Africa. Shame on them, Honorable Speaker. I beg to move and request the leader of minority, the Honorable Junet Mohammed, my good friend, to second this motion to appreciate the government of Kenya, His Excellency the President, His Excellency former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, and His Excellency Mahmoud Ali Yusuf.
Junet.
Mr. Speaker, I stand to second the motion that has been moved by the leader, Majority Leader, Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah. Mr. Speaker, first and foremost, I want to take this opportunity to thank His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Honorable William Samoei Ruto, for his efforts and for his immense contribution towards the campaign of our Kenyan candidate in the African Union Commission chairmanship contest, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the President of this country and his government has done everything possible to campaign, to lobby, and to do everything possible to make sure that we win in this contest, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it was not a secret that the President visited African capitals and met presidents to lobby and campaign for our Kenyan candidate, Mr. Speaker, and at the same time also received presidents in this country, Mr. Speaker, to talk to them and tell them that we have the best candidate in the contest. Mr. Speaker, we will not forget that. As a party, ODM party, as people, Mr. Speaker, we will remind everyone who wants to forget that the President campaigned and lobbied for our candidate, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, also I want to thank the Right Honorable former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, Mr. Speaker, for stepping out, because, Mr. Speaker, it requires a lot of courage, Mr. Speaker, and determination to come out and say that I want to represent my country at a very high level, Mr. Speaker, of the African Union. Many Kenyans will want, Mr. Speaker, to contest for that kind of position, but it requires courage. It requires somebody who has the stamina, Mr. Speaker, to show and to come out and say that I want to run for this. Mr. Speaker, this country could not have a better candidate than him, because his credentials are known, Mr. Speaker. And he has served the African Union, Mr. Speaker, at the level of High Representative on Infrastructure, Mr. Speaker, before, for a period of, I think, 3 years. And he had performed exemplarily very well. And he had done a good job. And, Mr. Speaker, he had all the credentials as a Pan-Africanist to contest for that high office, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in an election contest, there must be a winner and there must be a loser. And you can also go on a draw. Mr. Speaker, it is not easy to raise the confidence of over 20 presidents of a country, Mr. Speaker. You have seen the first round, he got 22 votes. Those are 22 countries that have faith and confidence in the candidature of Honorable Raila Odinga, Mr. Speaker. Many of us, if we were to contest, we might not even get 2 presidents or 3, Mr. Speaker, or even one vote of a president, Mr. Speaker. But he could manage to raise those numbers because he's a Pan-Africanist, he's known in this continent, and he has done and participated in many things affecting this country, Mr. Speaker, in solving them. Mr. Speaker, the election went as it went. Even when he was going for the election, his last speech at Bomas of Kenya, in a conference that was held by the ODM party, he said he'll be very happy if he wins, and in the event he loses, he has a home to come back to. And life continues as usual, and he will do his things, his business, and other things that he normally does. But, Mr. Speaker, what has shocked me as a Kenyan, Mr. Speaker, and up to now I am still in shock, is not the loss that we had in Addis Ababa. Mr. Speaker, what has shocked me is that the celebration that happened in some parts of our country after we lost that election, Mr. Speaker. This was not a Kenyan contest, Mr. Speaker. Some of the people who are celebrating are keeping now busy the majority leader here. Can they sit down so that they can hear what I'm saying, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker.
Order, Wamawa and...
These are some of the people who are celebrating. She celebrated, but that is fine. Because in a contest, you can...
Order Wamaua, you cannot cross the aisle like that.
Mr. Speaker...
It's immaterial what she wants to do.
Mr. Speaker...
Go on.
Kenyans knew very well that this is not an election that is going to happen within the country. It's not an election that is normally announced at Bomas of Kenya. This was an election that was happening at the African Union. And some of the Kenyans became so unpatriotic and supporting a candidate against Kenya, Mr. Speaker, and even campaigning for him openly in the social media, in all kind of sphere, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I cannot be so unpatriotic. If today a Kenyan of any color, any race, any religion, any creed comes out to contest for an international position, Mr. Speaker, I will support. In the spirit of being a Kenyan, Mr. Speaker, that's all. The first thing that we need to look at is being a Kenyan, not from the community you come from, not from your color, not from your religion, not from anything. Mr. Speaker, how unpatriotic can some Kenyans be that they fought the Right Honorable Prime Minister for 1 year he has been campaigning, and after losing, they celebrated. We shall revisit that, I can assure you. We will revisit that one. It will not go. We will revisit at the right time. We will also have our day to laugh and to celebrate, Mr. Speaker. And it's not very far, it is coming, Mr. Speaker. It's not very far. You can take that to the bank, and I will remind you the day I'm celebrating that you also celebrated your day. This is my day. Inshallah. Bismillah al-Karim. Mr. Speaker, I also want to congratulate the winner. In a contest, someone must win. And a country that is who is our neighbor in the same region, the Eastern African region, won the election. So we have every reason to celebrate also and to congratulate them, Mr. Speaker, because in a contest we expected to have a winner and a loser. But we expected ourselves to win. But we did not win. So we cannot be so losers. We say, there are many things that happened. I was in Addis Ababa, Mr. Speaker. I don't want to talk about them now, but that is part of the election. You don't have to complain. You don't have to begrudge anyone. That is normal. All of us defeated someone by being in this house, Mr. Speaker. All of us defeated someone by being in this house, Mr. Speaker. We had opponents, Mr. Speaker, in the election. Even you, to be elected as a speaker, you had opponents. We had a candidate, Azimio, and Kenya Kwanza proposed to you, and you got the highest votes. And now today you are presiding over here as our speaker. You are a speaker for all of us. We are not saying, oh, we have lost, now another speaker must sit next to you, the one who lost to you. We cannot work like that. So, Mr. Speaker, in a contest, it goes that way. But I want Kenyans to get experience out of this contest, because this is not going to be the last time a Kenyan is going to contest for an international job. And I want to encourage the government of the Republic of Kenya to propose and support Kenyans who are qualified to go for international positions, Mr. Speaker. The UN Secretary General job is coming up in the next year, Mr. Speaker. If there's a Kenyan who feels he's qualified to become the Secretary General of the UN, he should go for it. And Kenyans will support. It doesn't matter whether you win or lose. It doesn't matter. Go for it. So, Mr. Speaker, many countries in this region have done very well, much better than our country, in terms of positioning their people in this multilateral organization, Mr. Speaker. We have not done very well as a country in that sphere, Mr. Speaker. We have to improve our socks and make sure that a lot of Kenyans, even the ones who are celebrating, instead of holding people in villages, in somewhere there in Nyeri, release them, let them go for these international positions if they are qualified. Don't hold people there buying them uji every day, and they are qualified, they have papers, they have masters, they have degrees, everything. Take them out, Mr. Speaker. Wamunyoro is not a church. Unless it's another Shakahola place, where people now go there and they want to die there inside there. So, Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I want to say that I have thanked the President on behalf of my party, on behalf of my constituency, and on behalf of myself, for showing leadership as our President and supporting the candidature of our party leader. I want to also congratulate my party leader. He's a strong man. Very strong man, Mr. Speaker. And he always has a second chance. If there is any other position to serve in the continent, he will be available. In the world, everywhere, Mr. Speaker, he has been available, Mr. Speaker. He has served the African Union before, and we will continue supporting him. And he's my leader, and we will make sure that we provide our services to the people of this country and to the people of this country, Mr. Speaker, in whichever level we can, in whichever capacity that we can. There are people who thought that this contest was political. They thought that, oh, this is a contest now, or if we lose, ODM will get annoyed. I don't know, annoyed of what? If there are people we should be annoyed with, it should be Djibouti, the people who took our cup. Yeah, why should we be annoyed with somebody who was not contesting against us? We should be annoyed with the people who defeated us. And we are not annoyed with them also. We are congratulating them for doing a good job. Because African Union belongs to all of us. As a nation, we are part of the African Union. So, Mr. Speaker, with those few remarks, I wish to second and warn the naysayers that you should avoid that kind of thing going forward in future. Mr. Speaker, because if you are going to oppose a Kenyan because of his political affiliation, because of domestic issues, it's a very primitive way of looking at things. And I know some of the people, why we impeach them also, it was not in the impeachment paper, but it's primitivity. Some of them are very primitive people. Village mentality. You know, people want to go to international organizations. Instead of supporting them, you are judging them on the basis of what happens in a village, Mr. Speaker. I'm very sad about that. I do not expect people to celebrate the loss of a Kenyan in an international contest. It's a shame. Whichever you are, you cannot celebrate the loss of a Kenyan in an international contest. I repeat again. You cannot do that. You cannot do that. Now, if our athlete loses in a contest now, in the New York Marathon or in the London Marathon, you expect me to celebrate? No. Because he's not from my community? He's not from my region? He's not from my religion? He's not from my village? He's not from my what? Shame on you. Shame. And those people who did that must desist and never to repeat that. I must say that on the floor of this House, Mr. Speaker, because this is where we address issues of concern to the people. And that is an issue of high concern to the people, Mr. Speaker. When we are telling Kenyans that you cannot run in any contest outside Kenya. In the first place, even if we run here in Kenya, they will not vote for us, I know. We have taken very serious that matter, and we don't want it to happen in our country again. We want to support our people. We want to support our Kenyans wherever they are. That is why we impeach certain people, because they were telling us we are not shareholders of this country. That's what they told us. We have not forgotten. They told us that you are not shareholders in this country. I don't know when the shareholding certificate was issued in this country. At independence, everyone was there. You should call for annual general meeting so that we know which shares we have. So you get impeached on that kind of nonsense, and you continue celebrating again the loss of a Kenyan in an international contest. We will stand firm. We will hold our head high. We have not lost anything. We have, in the contrary, we have gained because we have registered the name of Kenya in the international arena, Mr. Speaker. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I thank you. And I urge all members to support and to register their thanks, especially to the President and to the former Prime Minister who put his line or his head on the line, Mr. Speaker, for Kenyans. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honourable members, I'll now propose the question, which is that recalling that the African Union, the successor of the Organization of African Unity, or AU, was launched in 2002 as a continental body consisting of the 55 member states that make up the countries of the African continent, with a vision of creating an integral, prosperous, and peaceful Africa driven by its own citizens and representing a dynamic force in the global arena, aware that the African Union Commission AUC, established as the secretariat responsible for the day-to-day operations and activities of the AU, is headed by the chairperson elected by heads of state and governments from member states. Recalling that on 27th February 2024, Kenya formally announced that the former Prime Minister, Right Honorable Raila Odinga, EGH, will be vying for the position of chairperson of the African Union Commission AUC, building on his previous service as the African Union Special Envoy for Infrastructure Development in Africa from 2018 to 2023, appreciating that in recognition of the immense Pan-African ideals embodied in the candidacy of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, his dedication and leadership in advancing the cause of the African continent through various initiatives and positions held over the years, including his previous service as the African Union Special Envoy for Infrastructure Development in Africa from 2018 to 2023, His Excellency the President endorsed the Right Honorable Raila Odinga as Kenya's candidate for the chairperson of the African Union Commission, noting that the Right Honorable Raila Odinga's candidacy for the position of chairperson of the African Union Commission was not only his personal ambition, but also a symbol of Kenya's deep commitment to the goals of the African Union and its desire to actively participate in shaping the continent's future. Commending the government of Kenya, led by His Excellency the President, for the Pan-African campaign in support of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, reinforced by Kenya's commitment to regional and continental integration and cooperation and guided by Kenya's foreign policy. Further commending the remarkable achievement by the Right Honorable Raila Odinga for emerging the run-up in the election of the chairperson of the African Union Commission on Saturday, 15th February 2025, recognizing the need to sustain Kenya's growing prominence on the continental stage and advocacy for a more united, prosperous, and self-reliant Africa in resonance with the aspirations of millions of Africans who seek to see the continent empowered to chart its own course in the global arena. Now, therefore, this House records its thanks to His Excellency Dr. William Ruto, CGH, President and Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces of the Republic of Kenya, for endorsing the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, EGH, as Kenya's candidate for the election as the chairperson of the African Union Commission, AUC, and for coordinating the Continental campaign in support of his candidacy. 2, expresses his profound thanks to the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, EGH, for demonstrating his unwavering commitment to the service of Africa by offering himself as Kenya's candidate for the position of the chairperson of the African Union Commission, for his leadership in advancing Pan-African unity, for his dedication to the development and integration of the African continent, and for his distinguished attempt to the election in which he emerged as the runner-up, and 3, records his congratulations to His Excellency Mahmoud Ali Yusuf on his election as the chairperson of the African Union Commission on Saturday, 15th February 2025. Jared Okello.
Honorable Speaker, from the outset, let me thank you for the opportunity and also bring to the attention of the House, Honorable Speaker, that in the course of that election, I was nominated to be the chief agent in the closed auditorium, Honorable Speaker. And as the chief agent, Honorable Speaker, in a very controlled, heavily guarded compound, controlled numbers of people getting in and out, I was privileged to sit with our President, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, alongside a few members representing the Republic of Kenya during that election, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to specifically thank the President of this country, Honorable Speaker. It is seldom that a person whom you have subjected yourselves to a very fierce contest would come back to lift your hands and put you or try to put you into a position that you are garnering for, Honorable Speaker. The President of the Republic of Kenya went beyond the call of duty, even launching the candidature of Right Honorable Raila Odinga in State House in the Republic of Kenya, notwithstanding the fact that in 2022, they were fierce challengers, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, history will judge Dr. William Samoei Ruto very positively going into the future. And I come from a community, Honorable Speaker, that will never forget those who do good to it. Perhaps the only community, Honorable Speaker, and I'm very proud to be hailing from that community, Honorable Speaker. As is the norm, many a times there is victory in defeat. And we left Addis Ababa together with Baba, with our heads high. And now the President, together with the Right Honorable Prime Minister, can embark on their duty of uniting this country. There is more work to be done here than there could have been work to be done in Addis Ababa. And therefore I join my brother, Honorable Junet, by saying that those who think this was a defeat against Baba are in for a rude shock, Honorable Speaker. The mission to unite this country, regardless of where one comes from, is a journey that we can never drop. And therefore, as Baba comes back to join hands with his brother, the President, those who celebrated much early will be shocked as we go into the future, Honorable Speaker. And Baba is going to give us more direction as to where we will go, both as a community and as the Republic of Kenya. In the auditorium, Honorable Speaker, there could be factors that played out, some of which we will not delve into, Honorable Speaker. But in that auditorium, if I counted correctly, there were less than 10 presidents who had stayed behind for that election. However, they were represented by their various ministers in charge of foreign affairs, Honorable Speaker. And I would be remiss not to make it clear that even the one who has been elected is a foreign minister of his country. And therefore, those who were given the task to vote on behalf of their leaders, Honorable Speaker, are his contemporaries, are his colleagues, are people that he has worked with in the Foreign Office. And because this was a secret ballot, it was secret to the extent, Honorable Speaker, that presidents and the voters were given empty papers, empty. There was no name. And they were expected to write those names and bring the papers to where we were to be counted, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, the speculation going around that people are castigating other countries for dropping the ball against us is not true, Honorable Speaker. It is so hard to tell who wrote what on which piece of paper, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, unless you know handwritings of all the presidents in Africa, you can never know who voted for who. But I can say unequivocally that apart from Kenya, there are 20 countries that stuck with Baba through and through, even as we went into the last batch of the voting process, Honorable Speaker. 20 countries out of 49 that were present in the auditorium is not an easy achievement, Honorable Speaker. They stuck with us to the letter, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, we are very thankful to the entire African continent because Baba went all the way to the 7th round. And in the spirit of Pan-Africanism, he chose to withdraw himself in order to avoid a stalemate that would have ensued, Honorable Speaker. Only Baba can do that. Otherwise, the rest would have subjected themselves to rounds and rounds of elections that would have led to nowhere. And you remember, Honorable Speaker, when our South African sister, Dlamini Zuma, won, They went all the way to the 7th round. There was no ultimate winner. The election had to be suspended for 6 months. And in the intervening period, Mali had to be taken out because of the coup. So Baba, in the Pan-Africanist spirit, chose to withdraw himself, not to subject our African continent to a stalemate that was witnessed when Dlamini Zuma became chair. And Honorable Speaker, these are facts that will govern the elections of AUC going into the future. That certain times there is no point holding on and subjecting the whole continent into a stalemate. Only Baba did it, somebody else can be able to do it, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, a clarion call has been made by both the President and the Prime Minister, Honorable Speaker, that it is time we united our country first and then move to unite the African continent. Honorable Speaker, this is not a small journey. Uniting a country that has always been divided across ethnic, religious, and tribal lines, you need a Baba and you need President Ruto to have this country come together. You need both to bring this country come together. And the hyperbolic political temperatures that we have continued to see, when we have elections 2.5 years to come, must stop for the sake of this country. Honorable Speaker, we only have one country, and it is called the Republic of Kenya. If we destroy this, we have nowhere else to go to. If you go to the northeastern part, where we are playing good host to refugees who left their countries because of the circumstances of war, it is not something that you'd wish on anyone else, Honorable Speaker. The conditions that people live in those shanties is not something to write home about. And therefore, if there are people who are beating drums of war and are laughing at the top of their voices because Kenya has not succeeded, they do not belong to this country. And perhaps they do not understand the history of war and genocide that other countries have been subjected to, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, let us all in this house, as important as this house is to this country, rally behind both the President and the Prime Minister to bring about unity that shall withstand the test of times, Honorable Speaker. Finally, as my Bible, where I draw a lot of sailors, says, that my people suffer because of lack of knowledge. There are people who can laugh due to lack of knowledge. But sooner, that revelation shall come to pass, and this country will be reunited once and for all. And I thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. And I think I will start first by thanking His Excellency, the President of the Republic.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. You know, this is a very important special motion. Honorable Speaker, I really wanted to have indulged you before my brother had started speaking, so that, and you had given instruction that by 6:22, then it will come. I wish maybe, Honorable Speaker, we could be given fewer minutes so that everybody can have an opportunity to contribute. Around 3 minutes, maybe. That, because, yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Can we do 3? 3 or 5? 3, 5. Let's do 5. We see how well we do. Yes.
Honorable Speaker, I said I'm glad that you gave me the opportunity to speak on this. I first want to thank His Excellency the President for leading the candidature of the Kenyan candidate, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, with a spirited fight. I also appreciate those members who put in the support and acted as agents. Honorable Speaker, I want to first start by saying that it is important that we know that the Right Honorable Raila Odinga was not the candidate. Kenya was the candidate. That is what many Kenyans forgot. So any Kenyan who was against the candidature of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga is an unpatriotic Kenyan, because it is very prestigious for your country to hold the position of chairperson. That position of chairperson is actually the symbol of continental unity in Africa. So it is the envy of every country to have a person from their country to hold that position of chairperson. So anyone who makes disparaging remarks is actually doing a disservice, not to the individual of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, but to us as a country, and must be frowned upon. It is also important because it seems like during this conversation, many Kenyans never understood the significance of that position of chairperson. When you have that position of chairperson as a country, you literally have the ability to be able to shape the economic and trade policies of the entire continent. You would be able to have the ability to champion the African Continental Free Trade the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, yes. And it's something that has been very difficult for us, for Africa to achieve. You will also be able to promote the unity of Africa even in movement. You see that today, to go to an African country, within Africa, I have to get a visa. Today you go to the EU, if you have an EU visa, you can practically transverse the entire EU without any border stop, and so can the trade movement also happen like that. So it is upon us as Africa and as Kenyans that we were in an enviable position, that we almost clinched that position of chairperson, where we'd be able as a country to champion the free movement of Africans within Africa. Because we must remind ourselves that visas were created by the global north to keep off Africans or the global south from the global north. But today, within Africa, we actually have visas to keep ourselves out of it. We must continue to say that as Kenya, as a country, we pledge that we shall continue to try and promote ourselves to get that position of chairperson of the African Union. And not just that position. There are many other positions that are available in the UN and other international bodies where Kenya can showcase itself. So I call upon all Kenyans that when these positions do arise and we have a Kenyan candidate, that candidate is not an individual candidate but a national candidate. And it's upon us to support them throughout and be able to ensure that the country gets that particular seat. I saw the joy of Germany when van der Leyen became president of the European Commission. And that country took great pride in it. I want to see a situation where, as Kenyans, we become more patriotic. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me take this opportunity to congratulate Baba, Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, for the good work that he did at the African Union. Mr. Speaker, I've just finished reading a book called Ikigai that talks about the Japanese secret to a long life. Mr. Speaker, one of the things that they talk about that contributes to a long life is never retiring. And Mr. Speaker, I'm never retiring. And that you never retire when you have discovered your Ikigai, which is your purpose for living. Very few people in life discover their purpose in life. One of them is Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. And his purpose in life is service to humanity. It doesn't matter how much people want to pour in dirt on him. Younger generations who do not know what he has done over the years, you can never take away his ikigai. And I would want to encourage those who are busy talking a lot of nonsense around him, find your own purpose in life and live it fully and never retire. Because when you find your purpose in life, Mr. Speaker, you are always happy regardless of circumstances. So that's why even whether he wins or loses, it doesn't matter. Mr. Speaker, there are many of us at 20 years or 30 or 40, 50 who will not be brave enough to go for such a position. Can you imagine a person who at 80 years is willing to dare out and go for such a position? Whether he wins or not does not matter. It is inspirational enough that at that age, he's gone out there. But I want to also congratulate and thank His Excellency President William Ruto for the work that he has done for Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga in this regard, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when we went there, I went very cautiously optimistic. Not because I had less faith in the capabilities of Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, but as a person who has worked in the Pan-African region with the Pan-African Parliament and other fora, Mr. Speaker, I understand the geopolitics very well, the issues of regional blocks, language blocks, amongst other issues, Mr. Speaker. And sometimes they come into play, including prevailing circumstances in the region. They sometimes come into play. Mr. Speaker, the other issues, including the fact that Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga was a towering figure that some people may have found a bit intimidating. His strength, as I've seen one writer say, may have been his weakness because some people can't deal with strong characters. Mr. Speaker, it is also an opportunity for the AU to introspect. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, sorry, I see you have changed. Madam Speaker, it's an opportunity for the AU to introspect because the issues of equity keep coming up and barriers based on language, religion, or other factors always keep coming up. The way they've tried to solve it in Pan-African Parliament is the way they need to solve it also at that level. Madam Speaker, I would also want to say that I've seen a narrative that people are trying to sell, that Raila always loses. Honorable Raila was a member of Langata for many years. Yes. Madam Speaker, he even resigned his position and went for by-election and won. And he has served as Prime Minister. And the one who is saying Raila would never will never win anything, has never even won a village elder position, and will never win a village elder position. So really, be factual and wish your fellow Kenyan well is when God will bless you. Madam Speaker, there are many Sanballats and Tobiases in this country. They are very noisy and even noisier than the people who have goodwill for this country. But I want to say that I was impressed by the equally high number of Kenyans who came to Ethiopia using their own resources. People came in buses, in bicycles, by air, and by all means. And they were all tribes, Madam Speaker. My time is up. I want to also thank them and say God works in mysterious ways. What you thought was going to work for ill has actually worked for good. We were fighting last week. We are now sitting calmly as a minority, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Farah Maalim.
Madam Speaker, I also want to join my colleagues in congratulating Madam Speaker, in congratulating our head of state, His Excellency William Samoei Ruto. and also congratulating the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, I've had the fortune and the experience of having worked with Raila for over 30 years. And the one thing that, regardless of whether you like him or you don't like him, that you must admit is the energy he has and the passion he has for transformational politics. I also happen to know, as also one of the founder members initially of ODM, our president, William Samoei Ruto, because I campaigned with him in the 2007 elections when we were in the same party. And he has a lot of energy, a lot of passion, a lot of wisdom, and a lot of good intention for this country. I haven't had the opportunity of meeting the president's late father, but I've had the opportunity of working with the president, with Right Honorable Raila Odinga's late father. And we worked together in this parliament. And up until the last time when he breathed his last breath, he was working with us in parliament here like any other young man. With that advanced age, he would still discuss with us matters that were current in our political sphere, including the bills, including all the committees in the House here, because we happen to have been from the same party. Madam Speaker, it's a pity that we see ourselves as hyphenated Kenyans, and we demonize hard work. We demonize wisdom. We demonize aspirations and ambitions and achievements by looking at it where that person comes from. And I know that because we suffer the same things. As a community, when we work very hard, the stuff that goes out is that the Somalis, they're taking over the country. They're doing very well. This is one thing that should have made every Kenyan proud, that other Kenyans are doing very well in terms of development, in terms of entrepreneurship, in terms of athletics, in terms of academia, everything. Madam Speaker, I want to tell our country, I host a nation, or rather a constituency, which houses in excess of 450,000 refugees. And those people are from the same tribe, the same ethnicity, the same religion, the same looks, the same denomination within Islam. They are all, we have got 4 denominations within the Sunni Muslim, but then they are Shafi'is. And still, when you have a failed state, the amount of mayhem, the amount of destruction, and the amount of suffering is unimaginable and incalculable. I want to warn my Kenyan brothers and sisters, starting with members of parliament. Let's not divide our country. Let's not divide our country. Look at the Congo DRC in the period of time since Mobutu Sese Seko was overthrown. They've lost about 6 million lives. And there is no light at the end of the tunnel. Madam Speaker, I would beg you to give me 2 more minutes if you can. Madam Speaker, we are 44 nations in this country here, with 44 different languages, with different looks, with different regions. I've seen Somalia. I've traveled from one end of that country to the other end. You cannot tell the difference. Can I have
You said we're giving 1 minute.
You can't tell one clan from the other unless you ask. And invariably, in most cases, when you ask, they will tell you the right clan. And they're all related to one another. And you can still see we have got in excess of 800 Somali refugees here. 450,000 in my 800,000. 450,000 in my constituency, and an additional 207,000 in urban centers as aliens, and also in Kakuma and a number of other places. Madam Speaker, I implore on my Kenyan brothers and sisters, let us respect the leadership of this country. Raila Odinga is a leader of an immense repute. Let's respect him. Let also the leaders who have had positions in this country as ministers, as vice presidents, as everything, as president, respect other leaders. Democracy, the nature of democracy is diversity of opinion. The fact that somebody does not agree with your political opinions does not necessarily mean that you have to demonize that person. This country needs healing, Madam Speaker. The other option is that we don't want to turn it into a DRC. We don't want to turn it into another Somalia. And we don't want to turn it into a Syria or a Lebanon or a Libya or God knows where, or a Yemen, Madam Speaker, or Syria for that matter. Madam Speaker, let us celebrate our brilliant scientists, let's celebrate them. Our athletes, let's celebrate them as Kenyans. Our political leadership, let's celebrate them. Madam Speaker, whenever we ask for something, we're asking for it or contesting for those things as Kenyans. The candidature was Kenya. It was not Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga is secondary. And now Kenya lost and Djibouti won. We ran for the Security Council one time against Djibouti and won. And Djibouti lost that time. So losing and winning is neither here nor there. We had loved to win, but if our brothers in the other end won, we will congratulate them, give them a good handshake, and tell them next time. But for the future, from here going forward, there is need for this country to be united. The President and the Prime Minister, my advice, my implosion, my pleading to them, please unite this country. Keep on the good work that you're doing right now. And let the naysayers understand that Kenya is bigger than your political.
The Honorable Kainan.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, may I also join my colleagues in commending the President for his mojo and telemastic manner in which he has approached the whole AU election this year. Madam Speaker, also allow me to appreciate the amazing gingerly approach and manner the Honorable Raila also exhibited after the loss. Madam Speaker, the Odingas have always been magnanimous and patriotic. And I want to remind Kenyans, in 1962, when the white colonialists declared Kenyatta as the leader of death and darkness, it's the Odingas who said, no internal self-rule without Kenyatta. Madam Speaker, in 1992, when Mzee Moi had a problem immediately after the election, it's the Odinga who came to the aid of Mzee Moi. In 1997, when Mzee Moi had a problem, it's the Odinga again under the Grand Corporation who again came to the assistance of Mzee Moi. In 2002, it's the Odingas who said Kipakitosha. In 2007, when we had a serious national challenge, it's the Odingas who saved this country. In 2018, it is Odinga again who joined Uhuru under the infamous handshake. In 2024, when everybody expected Kenyans to fight because of that entitlement of tribally driven, tribally centered, tribally oriented shareholding mechanism, is the Odinga who said, no, we have one country. What does all this demonstrate? That the Odingas have always been there for this country. Madam Speaker, elections, when you decide to join an election, you either lose or win. The continental politics, Madam Speaker, Kenya as a leading economic hub, as a leading diplomatic hub, we have demonstrated under the leadership of President Ruto that Kenya is not just a country per se, it's a diplomatic hub. That is why many countries decided to stick by us, to support the Honorable Odinga, and the little challenge that has assisted our colleague, our friend from Djibouti to win the election should be seen as a gain, because at the end of the day, we also live in democracy. Madam Speaker, the naysayers who are tribalists, the ethnic chauvinists, must be told in no uncertain terms that this country belongs to all of us. Their biological nationalism has no place in the modern day Kenya. They must accept this is a country of many nation states. Many nation states, and these nation states that have contributed in defining our national borders and our national heritage. So long as you sit somewhere and you believe in your tribal bygones, Madam Speaker, there's no time. The majority of Kenyans will live by your ideology. That ideology has been overtaken by events. I want to request His Excellency the President to work with the Honorable Odinga in determining and working out 2027 and 2032 in the future, so that at one time the Odingas also get an opportunity in the history of this country. Madam Speaker, however, there are certain things that we need to go back and determine. We need to recalibrate our foreign policy and fill the pitfalls. Because literally, we have assisted many African countries. In the Horn of Africa, in the East Africa, Kenya is the only country that has not gone through militarism. We have been host to many refugees from Somalia, from Burundi, Rwanda, Uganda, Southern Sudan, Ethiopia. Many countries in the region must celebrate the dynamic nature of Kenyan politics and the contribution of Kenya, not only to the continental peace and stability, but also to our democracy in the region. And this is why I expected, in the first instance, the Honorable Odinga will have won. But I think that aspect, because sometimes diplomacy is very tricky. There's something called in diplomacy, Madam Speaker, track 1 and track 2. In track 1, nations just sit on the table, discuss niceties. But in the evening, they resort to something called track 2. Track 2 is something called ice diplomacy. You discuss it under the table, and that is what determines how you relate to the nations and other nations. Madam Speaker, this is one moment. This is a defining moment. We have learned it. We have learned it. I want to ask the managers of our foreign policy to go back to the drawing board and determine those genuine friends of the Republic of Kenya, and chart out with them an avenue, a path that will not only take care of their economic, political well-being, but will also safeguard our national pride. And this is what will help the people of Kenya. I say congratulations, President Ruto. Congratulations, Honorable Raila Odinga, for standing firm for the well-being of this country. And we, wherever we are, will support you in your endeavor to take this country and help us join the League of Developing Nations. I support.
The Honorable Member for Homa Bay Town, Honorable Peter Kaluma. And we are sticking to this 5 minutes. Maybe we start reducing to 3.
Yeah.
I think Honorable Kaluma, you'll be the last to have 5 minutes. Then we can move to 3.
Yes.
Oh, 5 is okay. We have few. Let's continue.
Thank you. I hope, Honorable Speaker, my 1 minute is still there. Honorable Speaker, I stand to support this motion. I'm one person who is led by the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. And let me confirm to the nation that he shared with me the thinking to run, or the intention to run for this seat, well before most people knew of it. And so let me go on record as saying, Honorable Speaker, that it is not President Ruto or anybody else who put Honorable Raila to run for this seat. It was his choice based on what he believed he would do for Africa. And Honorable Speaker, I want to say that the fact that Honorable Raila has not succeeded to be the chair of the AUC is a loss to Africa and a loss to Kenya. We know Honorable Raila and his leadership credentials as a Pan-Africanist, as a leader who is very passionate about the unity, the prosperity, and peace across Africa. And an Honorable Speaker, we know so because of the sacrifices he's made for this country. Because of shortness of time, let me thank Honorable Raila for stepping in to the space to represent Kenya in that continental competition. Honorable Speaker, we should not forget that barely 2 years ago, the Right Honorable Prime Minister Raila Odinga had a contest with President William Ruto. And it's a contest which went up to the Supreme Court. I would therefore not end, Honorable Speaker, without thanking His Excellency, the President, for the magnanimity he showed in stepping forward to support Prime Minister Raila Odinga in the manner he did, in word and in deed. And Honorable Speaker,
In so doing, the president has confirmed that he understands very deeply his role as the head of state for all Kenyans, and is being a symbol of national unity. He has taught us that as a constitutional democracy, once we have elections and you take reins, you stand with every Kenyan wherever they are in whatever bid they are making continentally. I wanted to request these two great sons of Kenyan leaders that they have seen through this contest how Kenyans believe we can be a divided people. Honorable Speaker, we always have athletics. And I can tell you, even in the midst of the post-election violence in 2008, when Pamela Jelimo was winning, although we were in different seats as Kenyans due to the times and the temptations we were going through at the time, we stood up and embraced. I wanted to request these two great leaders that the enterprise to unite the country, the need to create the Kenyan nation which has eluded us for far too long, is before them to achieve for Kenya. I would be happy, Honorable Speaker, for that day when whichever Kenya it is, as we have been doing with sports, contesting for anything outside of our border, we forget about where we come from, the communities we come from, and we all rally behind them. And so I'm requesting the Right Honorable Raila Odinga and President William Ruto that this AUC contest is something we need to build on and to unite this country and create one prosperous, equitable, fair country in which all of us are proud to be Kenyan. Honorable Speaker, when I returned, I was met by some media people who were asking, now, are you going to stop supporting the administration? It is the patriotic duty of all Kenyans to support the government in place. And I wanted to tell those people that I happen to be from the community of Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. I can tell you, in the enterprise of building one Kenya, count on Raila to join hands and to continue to the end with President William Ruto. For those who think that there would be any squabbles between us out of this contest, I've seen naysayers thinking so. Honorable Speaker, let me tell you, we are going to hold the hands of President William Ruto more firmer to build one united country where all of us.
I think there are many others who are, but I think the Honorable Kimani Kuria, member for Molo.
Thank you very much,
And
Honorable
if you can
Speaker.
speak in under 5 minutes, would be good.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. And from the onset, I would like to congratulate this great son of the Republic of Kenya, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. You know, Honorable Speaker, we do not speak enough of the sacrifices that this great Kenyan has made for where Kenya is where it is today. The freedom of speech that we celebrate, the multi-party democracy that we celebrate in this country, is one of the fruits that were fought with very painful losses by one Raila Amolo Odinga. His coming out as such a successful candidate for the African Union position of Speaker clearly also demonstrates the energy that he had and the confidence that the 20 heads of state gave on this son of our Honorable Speaker is one thing today. I'm a very proud Kenyan and I celebrate this great Kenyan Honorable Speaker. During the campaign period, Honorable Speaker, and during the launch of Baba's bid for the AU, at the same time we had a meeting with young legislators across Africa. And I actually took those young legislators to the campaign launch of the Honorable Amolo Odinga at Addis Ababa, Honorable Speaker. I thought I was introducing, as a chairman of the Africa Young Parliamentarians Network, I thought I was introducing these young legislators across Africa to our former Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga. I was shocked, Madam Speaker. Speaker after speaker, members of parliament across the African continent talked about how Raila Amolo Odinga had mentored them. They talked about personal encounters. They talked about the history that he told them and the commitment he gave them of his support, Honorable Speaker. the encouragement that he gave these young people, that some of them attribute to the positions they hold where they are in their respective honorable speaker. And with that, I admired this great Kenyan. Many honorable members in this house, including young legislators, have been mentored by one Raila Amolo Odinga. And that is a reason that we really need to celebrate. The likes of CPA Mayaka, Honorable Speaker, the likes of nominated senators and members of parliament in this house, Honorable Speaker, as a result of the hands of this great Kenyan. People are saying it is Kenyan, it is the Africa that lost. And I believe it. Because Kenya had a chance of a person who had the vision, the history, and knows where Africa needs to go to in the future. And I'm really hoping that perhaps in the future, there will be another stage, whether in the continent or globally, that Raila Amolo Odinga will get to serve, Honorable Speaker. I miss the days that Kenya was a patriotic country. How we celebrate our athletes when they win in the marathons. We don't care where they come from. We don't care the communities they come from. All we know is that we have a Kenyan carrying a Kenyan flag in a marathon in London, and he has won. A few years ago, we had one of our greatest teachers, a man from Njoro, I think it's called Mr. Tambach, who won a global prize on being the best teacher globally, Honorable Speaker. We were all there congratulating this teacher because he was carrying the Kenyan flag in the global arena, Honorable Speaker. I don't know what happened when it came to Raila Amolo Odinga. And this is a very sad state of affairs in our country. If we continue, yes, of course, by some people, and if we continue this trajectory, Honorable Speaker, we're experiencing a toxicity in the country where any success of anyone else apart from you is demonized. We saw the US government cut funding for US aid. It's their own policy, fine, it's their country, it's their taxes, yes. But Honorable Speaker, the number of, I saw Kenyans celebrate that now those guys who are working with US aid are now jobless. How does it benefit you that someone else is jobless and it is not you who is going to get that job anyway? So, Honorable Speaker, I really wish that we had that patriotism back, where one is Kenyan and they are competing in a global space, in a continental place. We leave all our political differences aside, all our ethnicity aside, all our family issues aside, and support that somebody, because that is a Kenyan, and that should be the Kenyan spirit. With that, I support Honorable Speaker.
Mic is not working. Okay. Yeah, the Honorable Member for Kitui South, Honorable Nyamai.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity to support this motion that has been moved ably by the majority leader and seconded by the minority leader, the biggest cheerleader of the Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, the Honorable Junet Mohammed. Honorable Speaker, I would like to start by congratulating the President for standing with Baba. He needed his support. He needed him to cheer him on. So we are very grateful for this. Madam Speaker, I would like to say that the Honorable Raila Odinga, when he was going for this position, he knew that it involved 55 countries of this world. And he knew that it was a very competitive position where he required to give his time, his brain, to stand in the international agenda, tell those people who he is, introduce himself to the world at that level. And I would like to congratulate him for that and thank God for him, Honorable Speaker. Because at the age of 80, Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga has a sharp mind. He still has the strength to compete with young people, where he came second, and we would like to tell him, keep going, Honorable Raila Odinga, because God has given you the grace. Madam Speaker, the Honorable Raila Odinga has a gift. He has been in leadership for over 30 years. He stood with Honorable Moi. He stood with the Honorable Kibaki. He stood with Uhuruto for 10 years. And now he is working with William Samoei Ruto. Madam Speaker, I would like to say that love him, hate him, Raila Odinga is blessed. for his age, for the work that he has done, for the courage that he has shown, for the strength that God has given him. We would only like to say, those of us in position, may God give us so many people who are like him, who can put our country to the level that he has. It is not the first time, Honorable Speaker, that Raila Odinga has given himself to lead the continent. In 2018 up to 2023, as the majority leader said, he was the chair of infrastructure and development, the special envoy, and that means that he did not do it for anybody. He did it for this country. The position that he went for was not for himself, it was for us. And I think it is time we love our country, Honorable Speaker. And for anyone who may have celebrated this loss, I think it is important for them to go back and just reflect on what we are doing to our country. This is a position that would have given us a print in the country as Kenya, that having the former Prime Minister leading Africa to ensure that we have peace, to ensure that we have development, and to ensure that we play at the world arena. Honorable Speaker, I would like to congratulate the President, His Excellency Dr. William Samoei Ruto. It is hard. He had a very tough competition with the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. But for the sake of this country, he has kept everything aside and said that this is the only country we have. This is the place that we live. This is the place where we bring up our children and our grandchildren. And we would like to tell him, Your Excellency, President William Ruto, Your Excellency, Right Honorable Raila Odinga, unite this country for us. And we are right behind you. And we'll make sure that we pray for you, that everything goes as planned. Honorable Speaker, I would like to say that finally, when the Right Honorable Prime Minister realized that there was going to be a stalemate, he knew the right time to say, stop it. We have a continent that needs proper leadership. And that is the time that he decided to pull back so that he can give an opportunity to the current chair. As we congratulate the current chair, we would like to say, thank you, God, that Right Honorable Raila Odinga was able to be the second. Thank the countries that supported us, and these were our genuine friends, and they remain to be so. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable Sarah Korere.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I also want to join my colleagues in congratulating the former Prime Minister in his attempt to vie for the chairmanship of the AUC. And Madam Speaker, I also want to sincerely thank the President of this nation, His Excellency William Samoei Ruto, for his statement and patriotism. Madam Speaker, the Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga is a man to be remembered for many things, and is a man to be celebrated. Honorable Speaker, if there is one person who have paid the price for democracy in this country, it is the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. And is so consistent to an extent for 40 years, more than 40 years, the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga is still standing for what he believes in, and truly he has proved that
what is your point of order? Yes.
Madam Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. Madam Speaker, we need to be serious and follow the time. We passed in this parliament that we'll go for 3 minutes. And because we all want to contribute, why can't we stick to 3 minutes? Because some are going for even 5 minutes, Madam Speaker.
I think when the substantive speaker was here, he asked the House whether we do 3 minutes or 5 minutes. Most people said 5, and then he said, let's start with 5 and see how it's moving. So is it your suggestion that we should move down to 3 minutes?
3
so,
minutes.
okay, those who are in favor of 3 minutes, will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. With as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? No, I think, Mheshimiwa Korere, I think you can proceed with the 5 minutes, and then we'll move to 3 minutes after that.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, truly this was going to be a win for Kenya, and even as the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga comes back home, he comes back a winner. The man who have lived his, to his word. Honorable Speaker, a lot of people or naysayers are castigating the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga for every time when he loses an election, he works with whoever who has won. There is nobody else in Africa who can do that. It is only the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. And Honorable Speaker, if you look at what is bedeviling our neighboring countries, it is because people want to win even when they have not won, and they don't care what happens to those countries. We have seen people being misplaced because of, egos, because of people fighting for power. The Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga is one person who have really proved that Kenya comes ahead of everything. Kenya comes ahead of him. And Honorable Speaker, I just want to implore upon this country that this is the high time that our president and the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga leads this country into unity. Honorable Speaker, I first got into politics through ODM. And at some stage, I was a ODM chairperson in Laikipia. And Honorable Speaker, even the president today was once an ODM person. He was once an ODM member. What I want to say is, it is possible for Kenyans to work together, regardless of which region they come from, regardless of which communities they come from, regardless of their religious backgrounds. Finally, Madam Speaker, it is so sad that some of the utterances that were uttered about the heads of states of other countries and our candidates were uttered on the pulpit of the church. Madam Speaker, we need to pray for our churches. We need to pray for our men and women of the cloth. Because, in our church, in the Catholic, we say the church is a moving church. But I just pray that the church, everybody does not move and leave the church in the world.
You're getting an opportunity, unless you're an appointed brother. Hold on. Yeah, I think the next person was the Honorable nominated member, Honorable Irene Mayaka. And then I think we are coming to you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. Honorable Speaker, I also want to take this opportunity to join my fellow colleagues in congratulating the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga for conducting himself as the true Pan-Africanist that he is, and actually offering himself up for the AU chairperson position. Honorable Speaker, the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga is one of those people who are very resilient. When we were in Addis and we were all feeling very sad about this particular loss, he was talking to us while smiling and assuring us that it is not the end of the world. And so I really want to salute him for that. Honorable Speaker, I also want to take this opportunity to thank the President, His Excellency Dr. William Samoei Ruto, for leading the campaign on behalf of Kenya. Truly, what the President did was magnanimous of him. Him going across the whole country, the whole of Africa, him hosting us in State House to launch the campaign of the Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga is something that as young people we will never forget, and we want to thank him for that. Madam Speaker, and the Honorable CPA Kimani Kuri alluded to this, that so many of us have been beneficiaries of the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga offering us mentorship. Madam Speaker, if you notice, on my right hand, I always wear two wristbands. One that is the Kenyan wristband for my patriotism. The other one is a blue wristband that has the initials DOR, which means Daughters of Raila. And the reason why I do this is because I am one of the beneficiaries of a mentorship of a great statesman of this country. The Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga did not look at me as the daughter of so-and-so. He looked at me as a young girl who was really passionate about politics, who wanted to be in this space and mentored me to get to where I am. And so, Honorable Speaker, it really saddened and disgusted me when I saw so many other young people on social media trying to castigate the candidature of the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. And Honorable Speaker, I just want to say that we also have a fault because we do not educate our young people about the history of some of the great Kenyans that we have, because they need to understand that when you're out there, when you're competing as a Kenyan, we all forget our tribal cards, put them aside, and stand up for the Kenyan who is competing for something. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, even for the people in Nyeri who are celebrating this, I really want to just tell them that that was a show of patriotism, and we should not allow it as a country. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, even as we introspect and look at what else for Kenya in terms of Africa, even as we congratulate Djibouti for winning this particular contest, I just want to say personally, I think that Africa lost an opportunity to be led by a great man, an opportunity to have a Pan-Africanist who would have taken this continent to the next level. I submit and I thank you.
Iti? Yeah, Honorable Kimilu. I know you dropped to the bottom because you made a point of order. Yes, and we're coming to each of you. I can see your faces. I can see you, Mboka. I can see you, Naomi Wako. I can see you, Ferdinand. I know you're next and like that. I think everyone will have an opportunity. You may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. And Madam Speaker, before I contribute this important motion, I want to give my condolences to the family of Malulu and the constituency for the loss. And Madam Speaker was our colleague. And I want to say my apology to the constituency, Madam Speaker, and the family. Madam Speaker, I want to say for the loss of Baba, it's a loss of the country, Kenya. And I want to say that we all lost, Madam Speaker, as a country. And these ones should teach us a lesson going forward, Madam Speaker, because it's a big shame to the country, Kenya, for this big loss. But because, Madam Speaker, Baba was a strong candidate, we want to congratulate him because, in fact, coming number 2, it was not a joke because there was a stiff competition, Madam Speaker. And I think, Madam Speaker, going forward, we also need to see how we are going to operate with some of our friends. Because, Madam Speaker, although, Mr. Speaker, although you cannot know who voted where, Madam Speaker, but body language and the reaction can also speak louder than the voting, Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker. So I think some of the guys, they pretend they are our friends. I think they are not our friends, Mr. Speaker. Like this guy, I don't think whether Museveni is a friend of this country, Mr. Speaker. And these are the people we need, Mr. Speaker, to be serious, because we need to know who are our true friends and who are just lying us, who are just telling us we work together, we are friends, but they are not friends to this country, Mr. Speaker. I think it's very important, Mr. Speaker, and this is the time as a country we need to be united, we need to look forward, and also we need to forget of what has happened, Mr. Speaker, and move forward as a country. We need to come back. I want to request Baba to come back to the country. We unite and see how we can move our country together, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I don't agree with some of segment made by the Kenyans, Mr. Speaker, but it's their right to make such segments. But Mr. Speaker, I think this is a time we need to give Baba moral support and also stand with him, because it's not easy. It's not easy. I'm a politician and I know what it means. But, Mr. Speaker, we need to support him. We need to give him moral support. And I want to say, as a country, let's not have...
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I take this opportunity to support the motion. One, I begin by congratulating and giving echo to the President, William Samoei Ruto, and on behalf of myself, the people of Emuhaya, the UDA party, indicate that I support and congratulate the President because he undertook to make sure that Raila is supported for this position. Ordinarily, it would be not easy for a person whom you had been competing with. I saw a spirit of brotherliness, a spirit of Kenyahood that he exuded. I also want to thank him for taking us to that space where you would imagine for a new Kenyan born that this is the first time that we were having the AUC elections happening, because it's a space which ordinarily Kenyans had not been exposed to. And the publicity, the campaigns, and the aura that it was given set the stage. Number two, let me congratulate and echo Raila Amolo Odinga. Raila Amolo Odinga has risen now to beyond just a leader of a section or a small area in this country. Raila is a statesman. He now joins the Pan-Africanists, the likes of W.E. Du Bois and the others like Marcus Garvey, maybe Kwame Nkrumah and others. Because what he does, he shows very clearly that he is above the normal, ordinary, small politics of Kenya. But he rises beyond that level to support Kenya as a country and where need is required. Look at just the last, because one member of parliament had created the milestones that he has done. But I want to echo the one that is most recent, when we just had the recent situation whereby everybody would think that Raila should use the opportunity available to make everything very unstable in the country. And that was just after the Gen Z riots. He steps down and calms the waters. That's a statesman. And therefore, as he comes back, I believe these are two leaders who went through a very rigorous session of praying together in Addis, surmounting certain challenges together, and even discussing what to deal with. So if anybody, rather for all the Kenyans, this is not the end, it's just the beginning for the big things to happen. And I want to encourage the two leaders to work together as two statesmen to bring unity, unify the country, and make us develop. And we have seen common challenges and problems outside there. This should make us even work together and be stronger than it was, and not to divide us. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The MP for Mwingi West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to add my voice to this motion, and I want to support it, Mr. Speaker. First of all, I just want to congratulate His Excellency, the President, on this. To congratulate His Excellency, the President, for championing this candidate of Raila Amolo Odinga. Mr. Speaker, this was not actually a tribal or any political affiliation kind of a matter. It was a national thing that should have been supported by each and every Kenyan, regardless of tribal affiliation, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, a win for Raila Amolo Odinga would have been a win for Kenya. And if he lost as a Kenyan, not a Luo, not an ODM person, or not even an Azimio leader, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I would like to say that we are very proud of him. He just registered the name of our country in what we call international arena in Africa, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, going to what happened, this is the first time I'm seeing an election, someone winning round 1 and 2 and still losing. We need to change the format of the way we are determining the win of AUC chairman, Mr. Speaker. And I would suggest in the future, we import the leave from European Union where the chairmanship comes from in a rotational basis. We have to rotate. Otherwise, African Union has become a thing for the North. Every time they collude, the last minute they vote for the candidate they want, and always coming from the northern part of Africa, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like to challenge the new incoming chair to address the issues of loss of biodiversity in Africa, the issues of climate change, to work together to address the perennial issues facing the African continent, and in particular the economic pressures and the conflicts we are witnessing in different parts of the country. And since, Mr. Speaker, I can see my time is up, I would like to say, let us unite as a country and let us work in unison for the prosperity of our nation and forget what had happened in Addis Ababa.
The Honorable James Anyikal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, may I appreciate and thank the government of Kenya for endorsing and supporting Honorable Raila's quest for the chairmanship of AU Commission. Mr. Speaker, may I also congratulate and thank Honorable Raila for the courage, the commitment, and the selflessness to pursue this. This was not actually for his own benefit, not even just for the benefit of Kenya, but for the whole of Africa. Mr. Speaker, the local political discussions that we are seeing after this election completely misses the point. The bigger objective in this was actually the future of Africa. We know, and we all agree, that Africa is the richest continent in terms of resources and potential, and yet it is the poorest continent in terms of utilization of these resources. Therefore, in this election, in my view, even as we congratulate the winner, it is only the Honorable Raila who had the political clout actually to get the African heads of state for once, hopefully, if you leave the 1957 era when we were all clamoring for a united Africa, to get them to speak together with one voice and put the Africa agenda for international discourse. And this is particularly, Mr. Speaker, necessary if we look at the leadership in the America today. African leaders need to talk together with one language. This is what is going to protect us. And in my view, this is what I know, and everybody perhaps knew Raila Amolo Odinga was capable of doing. Mr. Speaker, look at Africa, the youthful population. But what happens to this population? We are actually afraid of the youth. Many are dying crossing the Mediterranean Sea because they say they would rather go and live abroad than live in. They would rather die while trying to go abroad than live in Africa. Who can put this thing together? Mr. Speaker, we have the largest potential in minerals. We have the largest potential in hydropower. We have the largest potential even in gas. But despite all that, we are still poor. And in fact, the countries with the highest potential are the countries with the biggest turmoil in politics.
The Honorable David Gikaria.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipatia nafasi hii. Na ya kwanza nichukue nafasi hii kumpongeza Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga kwa kujitokeza kwenda kuwania kiti cha kuongoza Afrika nzima. Pili, nichukue nafasi hii Mheshimiwa Spika kumshukuru sana rais wetu William Samoei Ruto kwa kujitolea kabisa, akawa yeye ndio alikuwa mbele pale kwa mstari ya mbele kumpigia debe Mheshimiwa Prime Minister, Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. Sijawahi pata nafasi Mheshimiwa Spika ya kukaa karibu na Raila, na nafikiria nitamuuliza ndugu yangu Atandi anipeleke ama Madam Gogo wanipeleke niende. Unajua mbeleni ilikuwa tukienda hapo, ilikuwa nasema unafanywa nini, unakuwa sanitized. Lakini sasa ni kwa kweli, na nasema hivi si kwa sababu ya haya peke yake. Mimi ni shabiki ya Raila sana kwa mambo mengi. Tangu nikiwa kansela aliniongoza kwa njia ya kuleta watu pamoja na kufanya mambo mengi. Na niseme kuna mambo mengi. Kwanza niseme kama ndugu yetu Junet alivyosema, akatumia jina atarevisit. Nataka kwa niaba ya jamii ya ile ambaye inasemekana walienda wakasherekea kuomba msamaha, kwa sababu sio jamii nzima ambaye walifanya hivyo. Ni watu wachache katika kona fulani ambaye walienda. Kwa hivyo tusichukuliwe kama sisi sote. Ni mtu mmoja ambaye anajulikana kwa mambo. Pili niseme pia mambo ya zile sheria zimewekwa pale. Ndugu yangu bwana CNN amesema ni lazima tuanze kuangalia. Mimi sijui kama nitakuja chaguliwa rais. Pengine ningepeleka mswada kule tubadilishe sheria. Ya kwanza, kama vile nasema, iwe ni chairmanship, iwe ni kitu ya kuzunguka. Ikiweko North Africa, ikuje West Africa, ikuje East Africa, iende kule chini na kule kwingine. Ama si hivyo, wakubali basi first round, yule atakayepata majority votes. Raila wetu aliongoza mara 2. Lakini kuendelea mbele watu wakaanza siasa na mambo mengine. Tunataka kusema ya kwamba tunampongeza sana rais wetu kwa kupigia debe, na zaidi kwa ndugu yetu Raila Amolo Odinga kwa kujitokeza mhanga. Katika hata ile miaka yake watu wanasema si uzee, Mili amesema usije ukastaafu kama unajua lengo lako. Kwa hivyo nitaomba pamoja na
Honorable Samuel Atandi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, let me join my colleagues in, first of all, congratulating the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga for stepping out and declaring his candidature for this position. Honorable Speaker, Kenya may have gone without a candidate in this election had Baba not come out and said that he's offering himself. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, I also want to thank and congratulate Honorable William Ruto, the President, for embracing the candidature of Raila Amolo Odinga and using all available opportunity and resources to ensure that the campaign took off. Honorable Speaker, the campaign for the chairmanship of African Union is not a mean activity. It is an activity that requires travelings and movement across length and breadth of Africa. Honorable Speaker, this is not a campaign that you can do from your own resources, even if you are a dollar billionaire. Therefore, I want to say that the President was very bold and in coming out and embracing this candidature. Honorable Speaker, I was thinking about the support the President gave Raila. And I was even thinking, Speaker, that maybe if we had another president, God forbid, maybe this Wamunyoro guy as the president, I don't think Kenya would have presented a candidate. He would have said, no, this is not a priority for Kenya. But the fact that the president said this is important for Kenya and coming out of his way himself to campaign and to offer resources is something that we will never forget. Honorable Speaker, I heard some people complaining that, look, the Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga is using a particular chopper to travel across the length and breadth of Africa while he's campaigning. I don't know whether those Kenyans wanted Raila Amolo Odinga to use tuk-tuk or SGR as a means of movement to those African capitals. Honorable Speaker, lastly, I want to say that this candidature was not Raila's candidature. Like most people have said, it was Kenya's candidature. Actually, when people were voting, when presidents were voting, they were voting for the country. They were voting for Kenya. And therefore, I want to say that Kenya has won because Raila Amolo Odinga, using his profile, using his global profile, has been able to market the country. Kenya is now known. Kenya is respected. And the debate, Honorable Speaker, that Kenya has a weak or a poor foreign policy is something that I want to dismiss. Because, Honorable Speaker, if the Kenya's foreign policy is weak, I don't think those 22 presidents would have been able to support us. And so I want to say that we know the African politics, we know the politics of Anglophone and Francophone, and many other factors that I would have.
Thank you, Honorable Samatandi. Honorable members, I have only 12 minutes. I don't know whether we still speak for 5.
Wait,
Honorable Ferdinand Wanyonyi, proceed.
Chairman, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me to have this. First and foremost, I want to say thank you very much, Your Excellency, for having endorsed Raila for this particular job. He actually did not endorse Raila as a person, but he endorsed Kenya, because as mentioned elsewhere, Kenya is the one that actually stood for that election, and therefore that was the right candidate for us. And I want to say this, we actually as a country, we did very well, because the first round, we won this. And I don't know why they had to go to the second, third, fourth, up to seventh round, because we had the first round, Raila was having 22 votes against 19. And then of course, second one again, he had more than that. So I don't know what happened. As somebody mentioned, I don't want to say maybe votes were stolen or anything else, or there was corruption, but I can tell you that Raila actually won this. And I want to say this, that His Excellency did very well for actually endorsing Raila, because he actually endorsed Kenya. Secondly, had Raila not actually accepted as a statesman after saying he has lost, they would have suspended. They would have suspended this election. And I can tell you, because most people are saying it would have been very expensive for this country, because we spend so much money. People going there, some of them went on their own, others, of course, used our taxes for going. But now, if His Excellency Raila did not accept the defeat, what would have happened, Mr. Speaker? Would have been that now, the whole thing suspended, and would have spent so much. And therefore, he actually went for a country, and I want to accept that actually that was the right candidate. And ask me a second question. I have worked with Raila, and I know that he's a statesman, and therefore, we are looking forward to having him get into the government and be able to work with Ruto, so they can be able to move forward. I support the motion.
The Honorable Fatuma, MP for Migori County.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. First, I want to congratulate His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya. He did what only great men would do. And as other Kenyans are talking, we want Africa to know that that was the best candidate. And Kenya won, Africa lost, because we gave them the best of the best. And we are asking Wamunyoro, if you think Raila was not fit, why would you not give yourself in to go as a candidate so that we see how many votes you'd have garnered? I also want to congratulate my Baba, my father, the father of this country, the father of Africa, that only a strong man like you would go for this position. Having gone through an election 2 years ago, and you go again for another election, I think only a God-given man would do such a thing. So I congratulate you, Baba, and as you come back home, we celebrate you. We will slaughter all our chicken for you. We love you from the bottom of our hearts. Many Kenyans were saying that we use taxpayers' money. Mr. Speaker, here is a form of Pacoso Sacco where I took a loan of 600,000 to go and see Baba win in whichever way. The government did not pay for me. I'll be struggling to pay this loan. And the Kenyans who are saying, and the newspapers who are castigating that we took taxpayers' money, the National Assembly only paid for 2 members of parliament. The rest of Kenyans there came in the same way or even worse than the way I came. There are Kenyans who took loans. There are Kenyans who sold their cows. And Mr. Speaker, there are Kenyans who took a bus and stayed on the road for 4 days to be in Addis Ababa, regardless of their tribe, regardless of their party and age. And so those Kenyans in those media houses, please, when you speak, remember we are all Kenyans. And we want to tell the Wamunyoros who are dancing, shame on you. And we are waiting for you. We love Ruto. We will pay him back because he loves our son. I swear we are waiting for you. We will embarrass you. Not even one vote you can get in this country. Shame on you. You're not even a Kenyan. In fact, I voted yes, and if you bring him again, I'll vote yes. You should even be expelled from this country. Shame on you, Amunyoro.
The Honorable Dr. Lillian Gogo.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker and son.
Honorable members, we have only 7 minutes to go.
Asumbi, I'll be very. Foremost, I want to congratulate Baba for being Baba, for just being Raila Amolo Odinga. We can never ever in the history of the Republic of Kenya have another copy of Raila Amolo Odinga. And I stand in this house through the mentorship and the guidance of Baba. Thank you for the space that you have given women leadership, and this is what Africa has missed. And I want to tell our president, the president of the Republic of Kenya, the Honorable William Samoei Ruto, Doctor. Daktari, may the Lord bless you. I saw you hold Raila's hands like a son of Kenya. I was there. Many Kenyans from all walks of life were in Addis. Many. And we had a watch party, and the hall was full with Kenyans of all walks of life. And people gave themselves out. But I want to thank the President of the Republic of Kenya for his humility, for holding on to Baba's hand. And for all I care, William, any time that you are going to call on us, William, I'm telling you this, William. Anytime you are going to call on us, William, I saw you. Nobody told me. I saw with my 2 eyes. Riding in the same vehicle with Baba, our Baba Uonoa, William, thank you very much. And when you want us, William, when you call on us, William, we saw you. We saw what you did to our very own. Somebody we value. Somebody Kenya values. Somebody who's gone through so much for this country. Somebody who sacrifices. Somebody who is not a tribalist. Somebody who has given so much for the great Republic of Kenya. And William, you came. And William, you were there for Baba. And William, you talked to us. And you are so humble. William, William. I'm telling you what you did to Baba. What you did to our son, William, we saw you. And the way you were there. And the way Kenyans were mourning. And the way we were grieving. And both of you stood and talked to us in the evening in Addis. William, leave that gender thing alone first. I'm just congratulating William. And I want to tell you, William, just unite Kenyans. William, please put Kenyans together. That is the only direction that we want. I'm talking to President William Ruto, William Samoei.
Bogidinji Gishimu.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And let me stand to also support the motion and heartily thank the President of this Republic, Honorable Dr. William Samoei Ruto, for leading a very vigorous campaign for our candidate as Kenyans, Raila Amolo Odinga, and who was very bold to offer himself for candidature in Africa for the chairmanship of the AU. And Honorable Speaker, the Andes was a Kenyan moment. It was not a personal or an individual moment. It was a Kenyan moment. And it is very sad to see that some people could come out celebrating when a Kenyan lost an election at an African
or at a continent level. So I believe there is a lot that can be done by these leaders. I congratulate Honorable Raila Odinga for having shown and coming out very courageously to run for this elective position in Africa. I believe the two leaders, Honorable Raila Odinga and Honorable Dr. William Samoei Ruto, the president of this country, will also come together and bring unity in this country, which is already there, and strengthen it so that for the benefit of all Kenyans and for the benefit for each and every part of this country. And I want to call out the prophets of doom that this country is headed for greatness. And these leaders, I'm sure, if they get united, every part of this country will get its right share of development because they care for all of us as Kenyans. And Honorable Speaker, I support, for the benefit of the rest of the members who have not contributed, let them contribute. And Honorable Speaker, under Standing Order number 1, I pray that you use your discretion to extend time so that as many as the few members that are remaining can be able to contribute. Honorable Speaker, under Standing Order number 1, you have that liberty or discretion to extend time even for about 15 minutes for the few members that are remaining to be able to make a contribution, Honorable Speaker. Kindly.
Matter where the substantive speaker whom I assist will allow me to invoke the provisions of Standing Order number 1 without being punished. And so Standing Order number 1 is accordingly invoked to extend the time for this motion so that the interest showed, because we are talking a very patriotic matter, is duly registered. The Honorable, is that the Honorable Kakuta Maimai? Yes, the ma must speak. Yeah. You have to balance.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this motion. And I'd just like to congratulate His Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga Akababa for representing our country in the just concluded African Union Commission election. Baba transformative leadership has been inspiration not only for Kenya, but for Africa at large. Baba is bold, brave, and courageous. No doubt, Honorable Speaker, that given the opportunity, Baba has the ability to bring Africa together for peace and sound economic growth and development. In fact, the African continent would have been a better place with Baba in the helm of his leadership. To many of us, Baba Raila Amolo Odinga is the ultimate African statement. As a Kenyan, I am proud of my country and our citizens for continuing putting Kenya on a global map in so many different ways. For naysayers, I would say shame on them. We must always stand with our citizens when it comes to global contents. Most importantly, I would like to thank His Excellency Dr. William Samoei Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya, for standing firm with Baba during African Union Commission election. I saw him walking with Baba and entering into the same vehicle as they are heading to the commission headquarters. And I was very, very touched to see him holding hands and representing our candidate to the global stage. So we truly appreciate our president for standing firm with one of our own. And it is about time for Baba and William Samoei Ruto
to continue bringing our country together, to make sure that we foster unity of our people. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this chance to contribute to this motion.
The Honorable Joshua Mwalio.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thought you have forgotten me, but God has remembered me. I want to thank I want to thank the President of this great nation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity.
I have not stopped you. You proceed.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I wanted to thank the President for what he did to be able to support one of our own, the former Prime Minister, to be able to vie for the chair of African Union Commission, and even to stand with him up to the end of the election. And even after the election, I saw them sit together while speaking maybe good words of encouraging him not to give up because there is still future. I also want to thank the people that went to Addis to support Baba, those who took their time, those who took their money. They traveled by air, others by road, to be able to stand with our former Prime Minister. I want sincerely to thank them. I also want to say that when the books of history will be written, they will be able to write that the former Prime Minister vied for the chairmanship of AUC, because that is what he has done. And he fought a good fight, and in every contest, there must be a winner and a loser. But losing to the seat does not mean losing to Kenyans. We Kenyans, we have won because our candidate was number 2, and he fought a good fight, and we are going to celebrate him when he comes back. So we encourage him to continue serving this country diligently, always, as he has always done. Thank you very much. God bless Prime Minister Raila Odinga.
The Honorable Dr. Eve Obara.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also add my voice to support this special motion. Mr. Speaker, first and foremost, let me appreciate our President, His Excellency William Ruto, for standing with Baba. Mr. Speaker, we are aware that Baba expressed his interest in the position, and the President supported him. Mr. Speaker, he gave it his all. And I'm repeating that he gave it his all, and we all saw it. Mr. Speaker, let me thank Baba Raila Amolo Odinga for the statesman that he is, Mr. Speaker, that he has made us proud as a country, because this was not his, it was not individual interest, but for the country. Mr. Speaker, he has reminded us continuously that in every contest there is a winner and there is a loser. Mr. Speaker, he demonstrated this even as we were hurting at the dinner after the event. He stood there proud and tall as a Kenyan to tell us that it doesn't matter. I knew that there were only 2 outcomes, and this is my outcome. At this juncture, let me congratulate the candidate who won, Mr. Mohamed Yusuf from Djibouti. Mr. Speaker, let me also make a few observations. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the leadership of the African Union, most of it is Anglophone heavy. Mr. Speaker, what happened to the unity, inclusivity, and equitable representation that the African Union stands for. Going forward, maybe this is an area that needs to be looked at so that there is maybe rotational representation or something that is close to negotiated democracy. Mr. Speaker, finally, for those who have been laughing and celebrating, it is indeed very, very sad. Mr. Speaker, if I can say, that this came at a time when we came back to the House to the loss of one of us, reminding us that we are all very temporary in this world. Why then should we hate to the extent of celebrating the loss of a Kenyan candidate, the loss of Kenya in the contest for the African Union Commission? I want to say shame on you to all of them.
There is an MP who is looking very unhappy here. Would you give her the mic to address the House on this? I'm not seeing her properly. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to take this opportunity to also contribute on the matter. I'm very proud of the campaign that was done because it was an international campaign, and my party leader represented the agenda of Kenya at an international platform. And we are very happy as Kenyans because this was a time that many Kenyans of different divide came together to stand for one thing. It was not Honorable Raila Odinga on the ballot, it was Kenya on the ballot. And for that, we are happy and proud of the representation. As for the naysayers, that does not stop our agenda from going forward. We have a big agenda, which is to take Kenya forward. And we are very encouraged, especially as young people, to never retire, to continue giving our best to our country so that we are able to go forward. I stand here because of the mentorship of my party leader, where I started my political career in his office, and he did not know me, straight from Garissa, and he still held my hand to come to this house. And we continue to serve an example and preach a national agenda. For the naysayers and the few with dissenting voices, the president has taken a presidential stand on this. He did not take a party position, he took a presidential position. And for that, we thank him, and we continue to take cues. And for those who have not seen the cue, the country has gone beyond clan politics. We are now moving together as one. And for that, we want to encourage everybody to take the leadership that we have already been given. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mover, you may donate a bit of your time. I've seen the MP from Boni, I've seen the Honorable Aluke, I've seen Honorable Kirima, I've seen Honorable Lagat. If you will only, I've seen Honorable Sabina Chege, only if you will, you may donate. If not, reply, because when the time comes, the House has to move as per standing order.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I donate some 1 minute to Honorable Speaker from Boni. Honorable Mboni, sorry. Honorable Mboni, Honorable Waluke, Honorable Sabina Chege, Honorable Benjamin, and Engineer Kiragu. 1 minute each. Ni sawa? Okay, another 1 minute to you, but usiongee vibaya hivi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, the mover, for giving this opportunity. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and Thank you, the mover, for giving me this opportunity also to say one or two things about this event. First of all, the candidature for Honorable Odinga was not an individual candidature, but a candidate for Kenya. That's one thing people should know. A win for Kenya for Honorable Odinga was supposed to take Kenya to another level of the diplomatic space, and not only in Kenya or Africa, but in the world. Baba has a lot of knowledge of problems facing Africa, and this knowledge should be utilized to sort out problems which faces this Africa, including unemployment among the youth, trade barriers, and poor infrastructure. When you look at the AUC staff, most of them are French-speaking staff. If you go to that secretariat, you may not find a Kenyan working there. But having an English-speaking candidate, chairman, we are likely to get English-speaking youth and staff who are going to work in that. So for those people who are actually celebrating the loss of Baba, they should know that it's not about Baba, it's about Kenya. And we should love our country. Lastly, let me thank the President for the support. I think he did very well.
Next, is it Honorable John Waluke?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me chance. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga fought as a man, as a son of this soil, Honorable Speaker. It was just bad luck because those other countries feared Honorable Raila because he had a plan to come and change the whole of Africa. And some of them maybe did not want, but we want to say that God bless him because Honorable Raila had a good vision, good mission for Africa and for Kenya because he could have changed even promoted this country to another level. Honorable Speaker, I also want to thank the President of this Republic for giving support to the Honorable Prime Minister. We love Raila. Me, I like him for his politics. He's a man of his own. He's a man.
The Honorable Sabina Chege.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me also join my colleagues in congratulating the former Prime Minister, Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. He's a man I worked closely with. I know he's a father. I know he's a mentor. African missed a man who had goodwill and the strength of Pan-Africanism and a person who would have taken Africa to the next level. Mr. Speaker, also let me appreciate the President of the Republic of Kenya, Honorable William Ruto, because he showed the way he took the oath. Baba was his opponent, but he took it up. He went across the globe. He hosted several heads of state, and he showed his commitment for Kenyan. Finally, I want to apologize, and please let me, this apology go on record. To the people, especially from my region, who went out celebrating when Baba lost, and I want to take this message out there to Kenyans. This was I want to say this, Honorable Speaker, that the Baba win or Baba going to AU, he was not going as Raila Amolo Odinga, but as a Kenyan. It was unfortunate to see people, especially from my region, going out celebrating and saying, come back so that you can go into the opposition. And we need to know that there's time for everything. There's time when people are competing. There's time for seriousness where people need to work. And we cannot politic from morning to evening. So I want to apologize to Baba, and I want to tell him we love him. Those who are a few people who are misled by an individual, and I want to take this apology and I say, Baba, we love you. Come to Kenya. We will work together. And thank you, His Excellency William Ruto, because he stood with him and he's still standing with him. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. I want to go on record for supporting this motion. First of all, to thank the President for standing with the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. And he has proved that, in fact, he's a man of his words when he says that he'll work with somebody. He has demonstrated very well on this one. For Right Honorable Raila, I know him when I was a student at the university, and I saw him wearing the white clothes, helping the other students. He was an instructor. And I have seen him grow through even engineering in many places that he has offered his experience and his expertise in this country. And for sure, his candidature was to change Africa. I know he was committed.
It was the Honorable Lagat.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Let me join my colleagues in congratulating the Right Honorable Prime Minister for putting up a brave fight. He fought a good war, Mr. Speaker. In fact, when the results came for the first round, all of us we celebrated because he won round one, Mr. Speaker. It is only that maybe in round 2, 3 that the geopolitics.
He won round 2 also.
And round 2, yes. It's only that, Mr. Speaker, in third and fourth round, Mr. Speaker, other geopolitics came in and other countries supported the other countries. But, Mr. Speaker, I want to congratulate them, the Prime Minister, and I also want to thank the President, Mr. Speaker. It is not very easy for you to support somebody you have been competing with. Mr. Speaker, the President has done very well in supporting Kenya.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will take it very short because of the minute. First, I congratulate the Honorable Prime Minister Raila Odinga for what he did for Kenya, standing for Kenya. Then the President, standing up with the Honorable Raila Odinga, he galvanized the country together, and that was a sign of unity. I'm praying that what was shown in Addis Ababa, let it now be demonstrated here in Kenya. The non-deck report, which was discussed to create vacancies and so on, that position of the Prime Minister, let it be created now so that you can have at least Raila giving that kind of advice, which we wanted to be given in Africa, to be given in Kenya here. It will work very well for us. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. As I respond, I want to take this opportunity to congratulate every member who has contributed positively to this debate. I also confirm that members have debated and they have shown a lot of passion in their debate. A lot of truth has been said. Over 30 members have contributed to this. And I'm sure if we gave the opportunity to people even tomorrow, many more would have contributed and they would have eagerly debated on this because it is a matter that touches on each one of us as a leader today in our country. Honorable Speaker, we also know very well that God gave us this good opportunity and we are now placed at a very high and respectable space in Africa, simply because of what our leader, our president, Dr. William Samoei Ruto has done. The passion he had, he was bold enough, he was able to bring the team together. And I want to congratulate him for being bold enough, for bringing the entire nation together, and for going beyond people's expectation and thinking out of the box, because he embraced unity. And that is why he was able to hold the hands of the former Prime Minister and work with him. He is a visionary leader, because if he wasn't visionary, he wouldn't have done that. He has a big heart. He goes beyond the elections and his own supporters and bringing Kenya together. And that is why today we are enjoying the spirit of broad-based government, the spirit of togetherness, the spirit of working together, the spirit of working together as a nation. And it is my prayer that our president will continue with this spirit. And I'm sure after his 10 years tenure, we will all celebrate and see the development that we will have enjoyed during his time. Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Right Honorable Raila Odinga needs to be congratulated, just as all the others have done. He has done very well. You look at his age, his experience, he was the right person for that position. That has come out clearly from all the members who have contributed. And I'm sure many other members who are not even with us would have been together with us saying the same thing and congratulating him. He has done great because in the whole season of campaign, the president himself confirmed to us that he was strong enough, he was able to move from one place to the other place, and the president leading and moving from one country to other country, bringing the leaders together, talking to them, and it just made us being proud of our country and also feeling that yes, as a country, we have gone to another level. I'm sure if we elected the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, Africa would have enjoyed. But unfortunately, that has not happened. That does not mean that we cannot use him in another way. I'm sure he's capable of any other position that we are ready to release him to. And that is why today we are standing together and showing a lot of patriotism and celebrating his life and everything. I congratulate him, and I also wish him well as we look forward to what else he can do. I also want to congratulate the new chair, who has a lot of responsibility in uniting the entire Africa and seeing how we can reduce the challenges that we have, the poverty level, the sicknesses, natural calamity, and climate change that is affecting us. It is my prayer that Africa will be united and our president will remain focused and bold enough to lead this great nation. With those few remarks, I congratulate all the people that deserve to be congratulated and pray that Kenya will work together, remain united under the leadership of our president, our deputy president, and now the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. Thank you.
Honorable members, allow me to put the question that recalling that the African Union, the successor to the Organization of African Unity, was launched in 2002 as a continental body consisting of 55 member states that make up the countries of African continent, with a vision of creating an integrated, prosperous, and peaceful Africa, driven by its own citizens and representing a dynamic force in global arena. Aware that the African Union Commission established the Secretariat responsible for the day-to-day operations and activities of the AU, is headed by the chairperson elected by the heads of state and government from member states. Recalling that on 27 February 2024, Kenya formally announced that the former Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, EGH, will be vying for the position of chairperson of the African Union Commission, building on his previous service as the African Union Special Envoy for Infrastructure Development in Africa from 2018 to 2023. Appreciating that in recognition of the immense Pan-African ideals embodied in the candidacy of the Right Honorable Prime Minister Raila Odinga, his dedication and leadership in advancing the cause of the African continent through various initiatives and positions held over the years, including his previous service as the African Union Special Envoy for Infrastructure Development in Africa, His Excellency the President endorsed the Right Honorable Raila Odinga as Kenya's candidate for the chairperson of the African Union Commission, noting that the Right Honorable Raila Odinga's candidacy for the position of chairperson of the African Union Commission was not only his personal ambition, but also a symbol of Kenya's deep commitment to the goals of the African Union and his desire to actively participate in shaping the continent's future. Commending the government of Kenya, led by His Excellency the President, for the Pan-African campaign in support of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, reinforced by Kenya's commitment to regional and continental integration and cooperation, and guided by Kenya's foreign policy. Further commending the remarkable achievement by Right Honorable Raila Odinga for emerging the runner-up in the election of the chairperson of the African Union Commission, held on Saturday, the 15th day of February 2025, recognizing the need to sustain Kenya's growing prominence on the continental stage and advocacy for a more united, prosperous, and self-reliant Africa, in resonance with the aspirations of millions of Africans who seek the continent empowered to chart its own course in the global arena. Now, therefore, this House, number one, records its thanks to His Excellency Dr. William Ruto, CGH, President and Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces of the Republic of Kenya, for endorsing the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, EGH, as Kenya's candidate for election as the chairperson of the African Union Commission, and for coordinating the Continental campaign in support of his candidacy. Two, expresses its profound thanks to the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, EGH, for demonstrating his unwavering commitment to the service of Africa by offering himself as Kenya's candidate for the position of the chairperson of the African Union Commission, for his leadership in advancing Pan-African unity, for his dedication to the development and integration of the African continent, and for his distinguished attempt at the election, in which he emerged as the runner-up. And three, records its congratulations to His Excellency Mahmoud Ali Yusuf in his election as the chairperson of the African Union Commission on the election held on Saturday, 15th February 2025. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. That's a unanimous vote. That's the first time the House, in unanimity, has passed a motion in the House. Thank you, members. Next order.
Order number 10, the Equalization Fund Administration Bill, Senate Bill number 14 of 2023, second reading.
Mover.
Honorable Mr. Speaker, sir, I raise to move that the Equalization Fund Administration Bill number 14 of 2023 be now read a second time. Honorable Speaker, Article 204 of our Constitution provides the follows, and read verbatim, that is established an equalization fund into which shall be paid 0.5% of all the revenue collected by the national government each year, calculated on the basis of the most recent audited accounts of revenue received as approved by the National Assembly. The national government shall use, and two, the national government shall use the equalization fund only to provide basic services including water, roads, health facilities, and electricity to marginalized areas to the extent necessary to bring the quality of those services in those areas to the level generally enjoyed by the rest of the nation as so far as possible. Honorable Speaker, this bill is seeking, therefore, to provide for the administrative structure for the management of the Equalization Fund as is established under Article 204 of our Constitution. It establishes the Equalization Fund Advisory Board, and additionally, the bill also is seeking to outline the structure and responsibilities of bodies or officials tasked with administering the fund. This bill, Honorable Speaker, will help provide basic services including water, roads, health facilities, and electricity to the marginalized areas to the extent necessary so that to bring the quality of those services to the level that is generally enjoyed in the rest of the country. Mr. Speaker, Clause 4 of the bill is seeking to provide for source of the funds, and the committee noted that there was a typographical error in the wording of what that fund should consist, and we will be proposing amendments in the clause to include the word 0.5% of all the revenue collected by the national government. Clause 6, Honorable Speaker, is seeking to establish the advisory board to the Equalization Fund. The committee also noted that as currently constituted, the bill requires representatives of persons nominated by the Senate. The committee proposed deleting the representation by an individual nominated by Senate, as this, Honorable Speaker, averts the separation of powers as envisioned in our Constitution between the separation of the powers of the roles of the executive and that of legislature, Honorable Speaker. Instead, we will be recommending to replace the nomination of a person from the Senate to require that the fund nominates persons living with abilities, interest groups, and young people in the areas where these particular funds will operate, Honorable Speaker. Additionally, the committee proposes that individuals appointed under this section shall be gazetted. Also, these individuals should service for a term of 3 years with the possibility of renewal. And the board and provided further that the board shall provide sufficient time to effectively implement and realize its vision. This is also in line, Honorable, with Mwongozo Guideline. Honorable Speaker, the Mwongozo Guideline provides for the number of people that should be appointed in any board and the terms in which they should serve, and it recommends usually a 2-year term, honorable renewal, a 3-year term renewable once for this particular board members, Honorable Speaker, and that is what this bill is proposing to adhere to, Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, clause 13.4. The committee notes that the clause requires the officer administering the fund to open a separate account at the Central Bank of Kenya, in which all monies raised under Section 4 shall be paid to. The committee observed that the Equalization Fund is an independent fund, not under the National Treasury's mandate, and therefore the role of the national government under Article 204 of the Constitution and Section 18 of the Public Finance and Management Act limits the operational aspects as of establishment and maintenance of an account for the Equalization Fund. Honorable Speaker, Section 18 of the PFM Act provides that the National Treasury shall administer the Equalization Fund in accordance with Article 204. This, read together with Clause 29 of the bill, is providing for withdrawals from the fund, which provides which provisions are similar to those in Section 18 of the Public Finance Management Act. And therefore, the committee was of the view that Section 18 of the PFM Act ought to be repealed to avoid conflict and overlap of these two provisions, Honorable Speaker. The committee also noted that there was inconsistencies in the use of the administration to the fund administrator, and officer administering the fund in the bill. And whereas Clause 2 of the bill defines fund administrator, this is not constantly applied. And therefore, the committee, again, will be recommending amendments to the bill to ensure consistency in the bill. Honorable Speaker, the committee noted that the bill proposes the establishment of a county technical committee, a sub-county technical committee, and a project identification and implementation committee. Honorable Speaker, these committees we found to be too many, because having 3 levels of committee for the implementation of these particular projects could raise unnecessary bureaucracies that could eat into the fund and therefore prevent these monies to go into the role in which they are supposed to go to, which is implementation of projects that will see services being delivered to these marginal areas in a level that is agreeable to what other parts of this country enjoy, Speaker. And therefore, again, we are recommending for the minimization of these bureaucracies, because, Honorable Speaker, we note that majority of these particular well thought through funds that are supposed to facilitate poverty reduction, equalization, and ensuring fair distribution of resources among Kenyan, Honorable Speaker, is lost in bureaucracies, where monies are supposed to go to projects end up sitting with people in committees in Naivasha and Mombasa and across the country at the expense of these monies going to the projects in which these particular monies are intended to, Honorable Speaker. Clause 17, Honorable Speaker, the committee noted that the sub-county administrator is one of the co-chairpersons as provided for in Clause 19 of the bill. The committee recommends that since the county technical committee is a technical one, another person other than the governor should be proposed. The committee therefore proposes the county secretary replace the governor in the technical committee at the county level. The committee noted that Clause 9(1)J of the bill provides that the board shall undertake public participation in line with Article 2(1) of the Constitution. Clause 22 of the bill provides that the project Identification and Implementation Committee shall undertake public participation in beneficiary counties. Clause 25(1)C of the bill provides that the county executive committee member shall, upon the identification of the projects and programs, prepare a work plan setting out a report on the public participation undertaken during the process of identification of programs and projects. The bill, Honorable Speaker, is therefore providing that the work plan shall be submitted to the board, and therefore the committee recommended that Clause 9(1)(1)J be amended to provide that the board shall shall oversight that particular public participation. Again, this is a measure to ensure that the board only carries out an oversight role, but the actual project identification and project implementation of this particular project is done by the people at the county and sub-county level who are affected, Honorable Speaker, by this particular project, and understand the needs of the societies in which this Equalization Fund is supposed to benefit, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this bill is seeking to provide a robust framework for the effective administration of the Equalization Fund and ensure that the marginalized areas in Kenya receive the necessary resources to improve essential services. Mr. Speaker, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to the members of the committee and the members of the public that came in large numbers to provide their views that has improved the reports that are going to table on this House on how to improve this particular bill, Honorable Speaker. As I conclude, Honorable Speaker, it is unfair, it is unnatural, and actually it's evil that whereas we have services that are enjoyed in some parts of the country freely, whereas some parts of the country have in a whole county, in a whole sub-county, people with piped water, people with tarmac roads, people with electricity, we still have places in this country that have never seen an inch of a tarmac road. It is unfair, Honorable Speaker, that in 2024, we still have many parts of this country where a whole constituency do not have connection to the national grid, Honorable Speaker. It is unfair, Honorable Speaker, that we have some parts of this country, Honorable Speaker, that they have never seen even Maram roads, Honorable Speaker, that they imagine where a road should be. And whereas we have the larger areas that are marginalized, Honorable Speaker, it is also unfair that we also have pockets of marginalization within areas that appear to be well developed, Honorable Speaker. You find very many places in this country where we have areas left out where they don't have electricity, where they've never had water, where they do not have roads, Honorable Speaker, and therefore we are hoping that this actualization of this Equalization Fund, Honorable Speaker, will ensure equity and fairness in distribution of resources across the country. Honorable Speaker, with that I beg to move and request the Honorable Vice Chair, Ambassador Langat to second.
Mr. Speaker, I second.
Honorable members, I propose the question that the Equalization Fund Administration Bill, Senate Bill number 14 of 2023, be now read a second time. Order, honorable members, be upstanding. Honorable members, the time being 7:10 p.m., this House stands adjourned until Wednesday, the 19th day of February 2025 at 9:30 a.m.